her device. She said, John, check this out. She goes, speak into the device. I said, I forget what I said, but it was like, hello, my name is John, or something. And then she put in the command to translate what I was saying into another language. So we got it back in Arabic, got it back in Chinese. Wow, that's pretty awesome right there. I forget what movie it is, but there's those little contraptions in one movie where they're talking and they're just hearing all the translation directly through the interpreter, the digital interpreter in their ears. I guess we're there. I guess we have that technology. So, what does that mean? Does that mean that we turn back the hands of time and we're like building our own Tower of Babel again? Does it mean that God's going to scatter us? Does it mean that God has already scattered us? I don't know. All I know is that this is in the Bible for a reason, for us to learn from our spiritual ancestors. And I think it's a pretty serious lesson. Look at verse 2. Shinar, that's just another word for Babylonia. In the Septuagint, that's how it's translated. That's the Old Testament in Greek. So here we're talking about the ancient city of Babylon. These are the seeds and beginnings of Babylon. Babylon is sort of the prototype for the modern city. Industry, technology, trade, wealth, ingenuity, arts, the whole deal. So on one side, there's a lot of good. All those things, we look at even New York City, there's things we're proud of, that we're industrious, that we do things. On the other side, Shinar, Babylonia, the seeds here in Babel, it was also the beginnings of slave trade that was really organized, prostitution that was more organized, paganism and a humanism that the earth had not seen in a systemic way up to that point. It's important to know that in the Babel story because there's a good side of the city and there's a not so good side of the city. And I think we got to be balanced in our understanding of even our city right here in New York. Look back in verse 4. It says here that they wanted to build a tower that did what? Reach to the heavens, right? Here's where we can break down this whole ziggurat thing. This is kind of a model or a drawn sketch of what it might have looked like then. Ziggurat's an immense tower shaped like a pyramid. It rises in terraces. There's like 7 different terraces or steps that are supposed to go up around the outside that represent the different gods, the main gods at that time. And then the top, there's like a special temple, and they call that the entrance to heaven. And so this was pretty typical back in the day. Here's a map. I don't know how well you can see that. Those little red dots represent ruins that we can find today of ziggurats that were built in antiquity. So you can see those. These are not just a made-up story in the Bible. This is stuff that really went down, and this is an example of one. At the same time that the tower was going up, there were changes in the Babylonian government into the military dictatorship. There was a creation of a pagan priesthood. So they got really organized with their paganism, their sex trade, their slavery. They began systemizing paganism around the globe. Actually, that didn't even stop until many generations later. So this is what is going on around this time. If you look here, I don't know how well you can see that from the back. It might be a little washed out. This is when they're excavating Ur, which I talked about earlier. No pun intended. So if you fall asleep, you missed out on the great comedy that happens. So here you got Ur, they're excavating it, and you can start to see this main ziggurat that was there, this equivalent sort of tower like Babel would have looked like, and the stairs kind of going up the side into the temple that led into heaven. It was Nimrod around this time. What a name, right? Don't name your kid that. But Josephus, one of the historians, Jewish historians, about 2,000 years ago, writes about this time. Here's actually another view from more outside the city. You can see, as it was talked about in the Bible, they were talking about building with brick. You can see the brick and mortar there. And this is actually a redone version. It's over in Iraq now. It's ancient Ur between the Tigris and the Euphrates. And you can see, I'll show you in the next slide, how the old ruins are sticking out. But in the 1920s, they excavated it. And then in the 80s, Saddam Hussein built this new facade around it that's more modern, but probably looked like what we had in the ancient days. You see the difference? Yeah. So this is Saddam's version, and this is the old one sort of peeking out. Just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here. Josephus writes this about the characters of the story here and the sons of Noah. It says Nimrod, who excited them to such an affront and contempt of God. He was the grandson of Ham, the son of Noah. So Nimrod is one of these guys who descended from Noah, supposed to be a good guy and a follower of God, but he started becoming selfishly ambitious in his nature. And he started to become corrupt and corrupt others. Josephus says, he affirms that Nimrod had taught that it was cowardice to submit to God. Wow. And wrong to praise God for benefits, because it was through the courage and daring of men themselves that all blessings and benefits came. So you see, starting to be embedded in the culture, even in the theology of the way they thought, it's a cowardly thing. It's a crutch to depend on God. We do things with our own hands. That's the only way anything gets done. And if you want to be proud of something, do it yourself, because God's not going to help you. You get that? You ever hear that anymore? You know, we live in a city of towers. Is it evil? No, not necessarily. But we choose what to worship. We choose what will be our idols. You know, I think the Empire State Building is a magnificent building. You know, as it was being built, people were just amazed at the accomplishment of what men and women could do. 1,454 feet high, 102 stories of hard work, a reward and a testament to the work ethic of the American worker. It was the tallest building in the world for 40 years. But then it was replaced. You know what it was replaced by? World Trade Center North Tower, 1972. It reminds me that things men build can be great, but they come and they go. Only God is constant. There's a man by the name of Costas Kondylis. He has had a more profound impact on the New York skyline than any one individual. The images you're seeing here are buildings that he's designed. He's an architect. Those dots represent 86 different buildings in the Manhattan skyline that he has been the architect of. 86, no one even comes close. He's the standard for the New York skyline and architecture here in this city. Trump Tower, Riverside South, Silver Towers, just to name a few. And you know what he says at the end of the documentary and interview? He says, I dedicated my life to raising buildings. And I'm paraphrasing, but he says, I wish I could go back and put time into raising my family. You know, we get to decide now. He's looking back, saying it's too late for me now. And some of us are older, younger, but if you're in this room, you've got a chance to decide what you're going to be remembered for. You know, what's your tower? What is it that you're building? You know, I get in conversations with people about spirituality. It's an easy conversation. You know, so what do you do? Oh, I'm a student, or I work at this. Okay, why do you do that? Oh, well, I like it, or my parents told me, or I was forced to, or whatever. We all have different reasons. Okay, well, why is that? Why do you like it? Oh, well, you know, I like this about the job, or I like this about this school, or, all right, well, why are you doing that, though? You like it for what reason? Well, I guess to finish school and get a job and, yeah, get a good job. Okay, well, why? Why do you want to get a good job? Well, I want to make money, I want to provide for my family. Why do you want to provide for a family and make money? Well, I guess I never thought about that before. It's just what everyone wants to do, right? No, let's think deeper. Why do you want to do that? Do you really want a family? Do you know what that means? Have you thought about it? What, really? Is that what you want in your job? Do you want to sacrifice that many hours? Because that means you're not going to have those hours with your family. Which one do you want? And you guys start thinking, what do you want and why? Why do you do what you do? What are you building? What do you put your time into? Is it worth it? What's it going to look like in 10 years? In 20? In 30? Now, I'm not saying career is bad. Career is great, but why do you do it? Do you do it for your boss, for approval, for respect, for money, for your family, for yourself? Why did they do it? In verse 4, it says, they wanted to make a name for themselves. Nimrod, the guy I was talking about earlier, they deified him. They made him a god. It was the seed for the Roman emperors that would demand people to bow down and worship them as a god. It was on all the points. In Caesar we trust. Yeah. It was Hail Caesar. Another version of that was Heil Hitler. The way that men and women, people in leadership, people of influence, celebrity have become worship gods. One scholar writes, a true son of Adam, man wants to be God himself. He wants to run the world in his own way. He wants to put himself at the center of his civilization on a pedestal inscribed with his own name, glory to man in the highest. This is our nature, people. And this is our struggle. A struggle to resist the selfish ambition, to want to be selfless in the way that Jesus was. I started thinking about names, and what people are going to remember us by. What's in a name? What's so powerful about your name? You ever look up Wikipedia and type your name in, or Google yourself, and you find that you have like someone with the exact same name that lives halfway across the universe that's a lot more famous than you? I have a guy, one of my clones, I guess, John Markowski, and he's a blues guitarist and a singer and tours all around. And Brad and Zach were walking down 42nd Street and saw him headlining at one of the places down there and got a little card for me. John Markowski, headlining at BB King's or whatever. And I'm like, thanks, yeah. That's not me. I'm not famous. What's going to go on your gravestone? Sammy Davis Jr.'s gravestone says, the entertainer. He did it all. Virginia Woolf's gravestone says, against you I will fling myself unvanquished and unyielding, oh, death. Not excited about that transition. Mel Blanc says, that's all, folks. Thomas Jefferson, his gravestone says, here was buried Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of the American Independence, the Statue of Virginia for Religious Freedom, and the father of the University of Virginia, written by himself. Make sure. Jim Morrison, Kalatam Demona Aitoy. It basically says true to his own spirit, and he was, right? Did what he wanted to do. Do it my way. Those are some interesting ones. I don't know what you would have put there, or I don't know what other people would write for you. Some of these guys wrote their own. A lot of it is about what they did on the earth. I like Victor Fleming's. It says,